Colin, we're live. And we'll probably have a lot more viewers when we actually have more than 7 minutes to advertise that we're going live. Just a thought. What do you think?
I would think so too. What episode is this for us?
5. Number 5.
Ooh,
So
that's a
what I am
milestone.
doing, because first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I am doing very well. And yourself?
It's been a long day, man.
Been a long day.
And I still have an arm wrestling practice to get to later tonight, which
right.
I'll tell you about that in a minute. But what we are doing with this YouTube sensation that we are now doing is the Selling Portage Podcast. We are going live every week, but I'm also going to repost the live video as a regular video, because the one glitch that we have with YouTube is that when you go to the video or you go to the YouTube channel, and if you click on videos, if it was a live video, you won't see it. You actually have to click the live tab.
Oh, gotcha.
So I'm just trying to make it easier for everyone to find the podcast. So you can either watch it on the live version or you can watch it on the reposted version, which is the exact same video.
Perfect.
There you go.
I dig it.
So what's going on? What do we got going on this week?
Well, this week I went to the Portage Learning Literacy Center today and just kind of spoke with one of the classes there. They just had some questions about the city and the council and how it operates and what's a day in the life of a counselor and whatnot. So that was interesting. Got to meet a few people, and then one guy asked me, he says, how would I go about buying a house? And I said, well, after this class, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So had a chat with him, which is good.
Well, that's amazing. But you're forgetting something. And you're forgetting something pretty big.
I don't think I forget anything, to be honest.
You're forgetting something rather big.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
What am I going to say? Still the king.
Still the king.
The return of the king.
Maybe the return of the king.
Who's paying for the cart tomorrow?
Well, that would be me.
That would be you.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a live viewer. Is your wife in the other room or something watching?
She is. I don't know if she's the live viewer or not.
Hey, say something in the chat, live viewer. We need to hear from you. Wow. Oh, they're gone. Okay.
Oh,
back.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I got a little uptight there when we found out we had a live viewer.
Yeah. So I'm back. Now,
What do you got going on?
I didn't do, what do I got going on? I have a whole bunch of DocuSign envelopes sitting waiting to be signed by people for various things.
Okay.
I am putting together listing paperwork for 2 new listings in Portage. And I'm going to be putting together listing paperwork for a listing I have coming in Carmen.
Oh, okay.
So it's been busy.
Busy. That's good.
And one of my old listings is getting some action.
Good.
So that's positive. Coming up, lots going on. I still have Wilkinson is still sitting there with some interest. There's lots, man. I don't even know how to capture it all, but I've been running off my feet today.
That's good.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the listing, my old listing that's getting attention is in Langruth, Manitoba. And it takes a while to show that place because it's 21.6 acres.
Right.
With a house and 10 outbuildings.
Right.
So it's a half a day every time I show that place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
But I have a feeling I won't have to worry about it too much longer.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Positive vibes.
Talk market, man. I haven't checked. There was only one finalized sale in the past week.
Saw that.
And it wasn't like, as of last week, when I do my market updates, I talk about how many sales are pending, because that's usually the number of sales that we'll have finalized the following week.
Right.
We had 0 last week. So what happened is somebody came out and they bought this place unconditionally with cash.
Wow.
Winnipeg agent came out here, and that place sold for full asking price with no conditions, and went straight from for sale to sold, no pending in between.
Perfect. That's how you like them.
Yeah. So the stats are there was an average of $0 lower than the original listing price.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
There you go. That's positive news.
Perfect.
If you just look at it, if you look at little bits of it without the whole story, it's a positive thing.
I should have an old listing about to be relisted at reduced price coming up next week. And I have another listing appointment on Saturday, meeting with somebody. And in this case, I'm kind of going against what we had spoke about. I believe it was last week, and this new listing will be in Winnipeg, but they only want to work with me. So I am going to put in the effort and make it happen. And I've been doing some research because, like we spoke about last week, you got to know the market in that particular area. And so
Okay, I got to ask, what is the area?
It is the North End.
Okay.
It is Redwood area.
Okay. So everywhere in Winnipeg is arguably hotter than Portage. However, North End, it'll sell, like, regardless of whatever. Like, do your research. But we're still in this house. So I was talking to someone yesterday who had a house, a family member's house in St. James. I think they got 9 offers, and it sold for $80,000 over the asking price.
Wow.
That doesn't generally happen in Portage Prairie.
Right.
So if you are getting a listing in Winnipeg, that's a big deal if you're an agent there. If you are just representing buyers, it's a tough market. It's a tough slugging out there. Like, you're going to lose some before your buyers get used to the fact that they're going to have to offer way over asking price for,
right,
Windsor Park, Charleswood, St. James, and a handful of others.
It is likely a ton of running around for those buyers agents in Winnipeg.
Yeah, and a lot of offers before you probably get one.
Right.
So what are we going to talk about today as far as our local market is concerned? And
well, we have all hosted open houses, and we've all done showings, whether it was our own listings or other listings. And I wanted to talk about, what can a seller do to have their home prepared for an open house or for showings? The do's and don'ts, I guess.
Oh man. Well, you want to kick it off? Because I have 1,000 thoughts on this. Sure. And I've got a lot of scary don't stories.
Well, I mean, again, I'm fairly fresh to this job, but so in my previous job, I was in and out of a lot of houses in a day, right? And with real estate, I think it's very important that if your listing agent is hosting an open house at your property, or if you have a photographer coming to do the photos for the listing, or if you have showings on the horizon, first and foremost, let's make your house as attractive as possible. Get rid of the clutter. A big one that I notice, and maybe it's because I'm a little more sensitive to it, but if your house smells like cat pee, get rid of that smell.
Smoke is another one.
Smoke is another one. Been in a few of those.
And not to sound like one of those people, but ethnic cooking is not for everybody.
Right.
So an ozonator would go a long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's that It's that first impression. And when I walk into somebody's house, 99% of the time, I can tell as soon as I walk through the door if they have cats or not. Do you know what that 1% exception is? It is your house.
Oh, well, I take that as a huge
Yes,
compliment.
and you
But
should, because the smell is so distinct. That is one thing I've never smelt in your house, and you have
hey,
two cats.
you know what? I'm going to throw a big endorsement out here
There we go.
because I use a product called Pretty Litter, and it is that silica-based cat litter that absorbs every bit of moisture that goes into that litter box, and the smell does not escape.
And it is 100% necessary.
Yeah, it's expensive, and you order it with a subscription service, but I'm sure you can get a product like it at pet stores.
Right.
But it makes a huge difference, and it cuts down your work tremendously.
Absolutely.
Plus, I have a housekeeper, and she's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's another good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the clutter in the home, just the cleanliness of the home, anything to do with pets, whether it's the smell of cat urine or pet hair, anything like that. You want to make your home as sellable as possible. And especially when it comes to listing photos. How many listings have you had where the photographer shows up and it is just stuff everywhere?
Yeah, there has been. So the first thing I will, like, I've had poor Jay, like my photographer, he's great. Jay is awesome. When he first started in the business, though, he would come into the house and he would spend half a day there because he would literally clear a room out of everything, take the photo, and then put all the stuff back. Like
Wow.
he would take a picture of the kitchen that it just had like small appliances all lined up on the countertops. And he would take a photograph of that just so he knew where everything went when he was done.
Wow.
And he would move it all and then take his photos and put it all back. And he finally just had to say enough is enough. And, basically, if there's something glaring when he walks in, he'll move it
Right.
like a dog toy in the middle of the floor kind of thing, kick it out of the
Right.
way. But he will not do to the level that he once did, and I do not blame him. And I think I actually had to tell him to not do that at some point because it was too much, and like he was there for hours and hours sometimes,
That is
and his rates
dedication.
didn't change. He just did it. So he evolved, and he just takes them as is. And if it's a huge, like, there's been some nightmare ones, but I will generally now have the conversation way up front.
Yes.
And I will tell people to we'll get 2 live viewers now. I will tell people to make sure that their home looks as vacant as possible. Make it
Right.
look like nobody lives. So you want to make it look warm, but not showy. Warm, nice, decluttered as much as humanly possible. And I've seen every bit on the spectrum. Like some people will say that this, my house is such a mess, and it's not.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
literally not one other thing they could do to improve it.
Sounds
And
like
then
my
I've had
wife.
other people say, well, is this good enough? And it is not.
Right.
Yeah. So
No, and it definitely it starts with us, right? It's our job as realtors to coach our clients as to how to get ready, right?
yeah.
What to do, what the expectation is. But that's about all we can do is coach them and ask them, right?
Well, the shelf behind me here, that would be too much in my opinion.
Right.
If that surrounded your whole ledge in your basement, that would be too much.
Right.
But, I've seen
So
when you walk in, the old school, like you see this a lot on people that are, almost at retirement age now or a little bit past or even older. And you walk into their house and they have that wall in their living room and there's not 1 square inch of wall showing because it's all family photos. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but we gotta dial that back a little bit,
yeah.
So the clutter, and you know what's okay to do? Fill the garage to the rafters. That's great. Go do
Right.
that. You know what also is okay to do? Fill your closets with stuff. You know, make it look like you're 14 and your parents told you to clean your room and you're shoving it, in closets, under beds. But you got to have that appearance of being decluttered and
Right. Because when it comes to a showing, the expectation for your garage is far less than the interior of your home.
Yeah. And I don't want to put photos online that don't look good.
No,
Not
exactly.
a photographer's fault, but it's, something that shouldn't be there. I don't really want to do that. And I also don't want to come back multiple times because it's not ready. And neither does my photographer.
Right. Well, and I've been fortunate to date. Every listing I've ever had has been a vacant house. So it makes it very, very simple for the photographer when he goes into the house to get in, do his job, and get out.
Well, I mean, there's lots I've walked into where the house looks like I remember selling the house one over from me on Melco Drive here. And I walked into that house and it looked like a show home. Like it was decorated so well. And that's just how they lived.
Right.
Angelina, if you're watching this, but people would
up.
want to hire her to be a decorator after they saw that house. Like, wow, somebody live here? I'm like, yeah, they live here. Yeah.
That's good. So tell me about one of your horror stories.
Well, okay, I'll tell you a couple. The one that springs to mind is my listing on Saskatchewan Avenue that was a sex shop / head shop. So I had to call the Winnipeg Real Estate Board for advice on this one, and they said, "You won. You win question of the year," because I've never heard this. I said, "What is my responsibility as a realtor in taking the photos and video of this space? What can I have in it, and what do I have to get rid of?" And the answer will shock you is that I didn't have to get rid of any of it. I could have put those pictures up unedited the way they were with very explicit things in the background. However, Jay, my photographer, did an amazing job of blurring and fading and all that stuff, so you couldn't see any of the bad things in there. You could kind of tell what it might be, but so I mean, this is an extreme case where you really can't do anything because it was a business that was in operation when it was selling.
That was probably a good judgment call on Jay's part.
Yeah, and we worked together on that a little bit, and there was no way I would have put those up as is, but I could have. There's no rules against it.
Wow.
That surprises me. You can't dare put a non-registrant in a photo of them holding a key with a "congratulations sold" sign.
Yeah.
But you can do that. And oh my God. So the most awkward thing in the world is when I was showing it to a couple that eventually bought it and they had their child with them. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? But anyway, that's an extreme one. Yeah. But what made me think of that is I've walked into houses and had that stuff laying around.
Oh, yeah.
And like, it's not good.
No.
Put your drugs away. That's a great idea. And mostly this is not homeowners. This is tenants, right? Who, may not want the house to sell in the first place.
That's right.
But I don't want to, and I'll preface this by saying, if we're talking about a story that I've encountered, it's from years ago. So don't try to guess on which house it was. I've been in houses that, were very, very hoarder-ish. That would be the worst kind of scenario because the presentation that you put out there can only be so good until that gets taken care of.
Right.
And in some cases it doesn't. So stacks of just random crap all over the place would be one of those scenarios. you know, excessive amounts of religious artifacts
Yeah.
could make people feel uneasy when they're walking through.
Yeah.
Um, I always tell people, like, you don't have to pretend your family doesn't exist, but you might not need 1,000 pictures of them out either.
Right.
You know, make it look like, you know, I often tell people, like, think back to when you were first looking for your home. What were you looking for?
Right.
What did you expect it to look like? What were some of the things you saw that you didn't like?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Well, and sometimes when um, like in a hoarder-ish type situation, um, you can't even see all the spaces, right? I've I've gone to a few listings that have been mobile homes, right? And obviously they don't fare the same way as a house would, and sometimes they can develop soft spots in the floor and stuff like that. But when you have stuff piled everywhere, you're not able, as a buyer, you're not able to identify those kind of things, right?
yeah,
And it's kind of important
yeah.
when it comes to buying a home.
Now, I've had a couple of times where there's been so much stuff that they couldn't access the crawl space hatch,
Right.
or in even related to that, I've had it to the point where a home inspector could not get in the attic because there was too much stuff in the way that they could not physically get to the attic hatch.
Mm.
So you see how all these things would be a problem.
Yeah. Good
Yeah,
topic.
yeah. I mean, it's a big topic too, because if we're going to talk about staging, well, that's a whole different show. Like,
Right.
and you don't often see it in Portage. Um,
No,
I've seen it maybe 3 times.
where an actual staging company comes in and prepares the home.
I've seen it where one realtor had their own stuff and staged, and they did some of that stuff. And I've only seen it once where an actual staging company came out here and staged the home,
Oh,
and the
okay.
home turned out beautifully. Um, and Man, how can I talk about? I guess I can just talk about this. That was the one we did on Tupper that was on the television show
Oh, yes.
that has not aired in Canada yet, and might not because it aired in the United States. But those old photos, that place looked incredible.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
staged everywhere.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but that's the only time I ever saw an actual staging company. So I have lots of staging companies reach out to me. The only time I think I would do it is if it was like a luxury property
Right.
where you really need to sell a lifestyle.
Right.
And I have one of those listed, but they have all their stuff in it still. So
Right.
it still looks, it looks really good.
No, that makes sense. I've
Yeah.
run into them quite a bit in Winnipeg when, in my past job, right? Um, because there was oftentimes it would be with new home builds, when you have to get flooring in before a staging company comes in, and so I've run into them quite a bit, and it's used quite often in Winnipeg, my understanding.
Mhm.
But there's obviously a cost associated with that as well.
Yeah.
But that is their forte. They do a very, very good job at making the home look nice.
Now we've talked about all this surface level stuff, but I often get asked, what should we do when it comes to painting, renovating? What can we do to make my home more sellable? And that's kind of on a case by case basis. But yeah, it's smart to ask your realtor these questions because
Hmm.
there are some things that will carry no additional value. Sometimes the value is in making it more sellable. And sometimes you can get caught up in a money pit that you don't recover.
Right.
So that could almost be a topic for another day.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
and I think we should, because there's a lot to unpack with that as well.
there is a lot to unpack with that. Yeah, everything from paint colors to what room will sell the house.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bleeding red walls, get rid of them.
Oh boy. Yeah. With 18 coats of primer and then whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So are we done on that topic for now?
Done on that topic.
All right. Let's talk city stuff because we got a big day tomorrow.
Yes, we do. I'm very much looking forward to it.
You going to elaborate on that?
No, just looking forward to it. No, tomorrow is Developer Day with the City of Portage, the RM of Portage, and Southport. And so the three entities are hosting a day for developers from around the province to come do some networking with the city, the RM, and Southport. We're going to be doing some golfing in the morning, and we'll all have lunch together, and then we're going to take the developers on a bus tour and just hit certain spots throughout the city and throughout the area, the region. Spots like, different areas at Southport, our southeast potential development. Where else are we going tomorrow?
I just deleted the sheet because I thought I don't need this anymore because it's tomorrow.
Right. Can't remember what other spots we're hitting, but we just want to be able to show potential developers what we have here, all the positives that we have in our city, the reasons we want you to develop here, and then what kind of space we actually have to develop.
Yeah, and incentive programs we have for infill.
Yeah.
Also community leaders from different areas, and we even get the odd realtor in there.
Yep. Actually, sorry to interrupt. One of the other sites was the former Agassiz Youth Center land is a stop that we're going to make on the bus tour tomorrow. And just a side note on that, the city did put out the request for proposals for tenders for demo of that property today. So just a little sidebar on that.
Yeah. Well, what else you got, fella?
I was just.
Don't forget the most important part about tomorrow. To interrupt you one more time.
The golf.
The second round of golf.
The second round of golf.
In the evening.
That's right. 5:10 p.m. or 6:10 p.m. back 9. If all of you viewer want to come out and watch, well, that's not allowed, but we will definitely be keeping you posted as to.
And how do the Taylors always end up on our over by us?
Yeah, they love coming to harass us.
Yeah.
Just some community things I did want to mention is Sunset Palliative Care is holding their rainbow auction. The deadline, I believe, is Friday of this week. So that's a really good fundraiser for Sunset Palliative Care. And the final day is Friday. The Prairie Fusion Arts and Entertainment, which is operates out of the Prairie Fusion building, which is a city-run building. Their dance and visual arts registration is now open, as well as speed skating in Portage as well. So, and tomorrow with PRRA, swimming lesson registration starts at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. So I know that's always a hot ticket item. So 8:30 tomorrow, swimming lesson registration.
Yeah, that's a big deal. There'll be a lineup, so get there early.
Yep. And that's all I got.
And that is all I have as well. So here we are under the 30-minute mark. This is the perfect length of a show, in my opinion.
There we go. We still have active viewers?
Oh, no. We had one or two kept popping in and out, but they missed some good stories. But they're going to watch it on the replay, which
on the rerun.
This one's already on the channel. But tomorrow I'll schedule for this to go as a different video.
Okay, perfect. No, that sounds good. And we will see you. Well, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, we will. We'll see you tomorrow, unless you want to come to arm wrestling practice. Oh, by the way, September 7th, Global Elite Arm Wrestling. I'll be going up against some guy from New Zealand.
Some guy.
Some dude. Big guy with a tattoo in his face.
Okay, right on, buddy.
All right.